What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about Starmer's declining approval rating. So it actually wasn't that long ago that I learned about the UK's recent election and new Prime Minister. So it's kind of unfortunate to see that people seem to already be unhappy about him. This would, of course, be the very first time in history that anyone has ever been upset with a politician. Groundbreaking stuff here, but joking aside, we don't really hear much about British politics and British news here in America. So today, I really wanted to just check out this video and see what's happening in the UK right now and why Starmer's approval rating is going down. So let's take a look.
So let's start by taking a look at the polls. Before Starmer came to office, his poll numbers were actually pretty bad, and most pollsters gave him a net approval rating, defined as the percentage of people who approve.
Wait, what? Wait, what? Hold on, we can't just gloss by that like it's nothing. Starmer's approval rating when he became prime minister was already bad? Is that the way that should work? If you get voted in to become the new prime minister, and shouldn't people be happy with you? What?
And most pollsters gave him a net approval rating, defined as the percentage of people who approve of his performance minus the percentage who disapprove, below 0. Opinion, for instance, gave him a -10 in the weeks going into the election, while YouGov had him hovering between -15 and -20.
How did he have a negative approval rating when he became prime minister? That literally, I literally do not understand that. Like, if he's the guy you bring in to replace the old prime minister, wouldn't, by definition, that mean more people are happy about him? Or were people just so upset with the previous prime minister that the previous prime minister was his approval rating so negative that Starmer's less negative approval rating was somehow an improvement? Or what?
However, in the days after the election, Starmer's approval rating spiked. YouGov had him at about 0, while Opinion temporarily gave him a net approval rating of about +20.
Okay. That clears it up a little bit for me. Right after the election, when he was made prime minister, his approval rating went way up. Maybe like a lot of optimism and stuff was kind of in the air, and okay, let's keep going.
Now, this poll jump is often dismissed as just a classic honeymoon period that new leaders often enjoy after taking office.
Sure. The same exact kind of thing would happen here in the United States. A new leader is elected into office, and everyone's optimism is at the highest, and it's like, yeah, now things are gonna be different. It's like, okay.
But saying that while leaders did indeed used to enjoy a spike to their approval ratings in their first few days, this so-called honeymoon effect has waned over time as politics has become more polarized. Boris Johnson, for instance, only saw a slight improvement in his approval ratings after he took office in 2019, going from about -20 to nearer -10.
Oh, wow. As politics has become more polarized, politics have never been more polarized in the United States. I can say that. Especially with our presidential election just around the corner. Is that similar in the UK? Because here in America, it's like different political parties, people are like sworn enemies at this point, seriously. So that's interesting for me to kind of hear about as an American, because I don't really know. In America, people used to get along a little bit better. even if you had different ideological points of view, if you're different political parties, it used to not matter so much. Now it's like people won't speak to each other over it. In the US, I don't know what it's like in the UK.
And Theresa May's approval rating actually fell after the 2017 election. And it's worth comparing this to 1997, when the newly elected Prime Minister Tony Blair's approval ratings stayed above their pre-election levels for nearly 2 years.
Wow.
Which is certainly a long honeymoon period.
Wow.
The point we're making is that Starmer's honeymoon was genuinely impressive, not least because he didn't actually win many votes in the election, and because there is a sense that...
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. With how the UK does its elections and how the Prime Minister is actually chosen based on the majority party, right? And the party leader. He didn't actually need that many votes. That's an interesting concept for me as an American to wrap my head around. I'm not saying that our political system is the best or makes like the end all be all, but in our system it is like, pretty much the American people vote for the candidates and that it's not exactly a popular vote, like straight up we're voting for the president. It's not that pure, but all the states basically get to cast their votes, and there's a weird electoral college. It's convoluted, but we, in a roundabout sense, we vote for the president. It's a little more confusing for me to understand how directly the people of the UK vote for the prime minister, because you're voting for like MPs or voting for party members of parliament, and then the party with the majority of the members is now the majority party, and like their leader is the prime minister. I hope I'm getting that all correct. So, I don't know. When I hear that, not that many votes were cast for Starmer, it's like, that's interesting, because in America, that would mean they're not going to be the president, or in the UK's circumstance, the prime minister. So, I don't know. What do people in the UK think about your voting system? Your system of choosing the prime minister. Do you like it? Do you think it makes sense? Does it adequately represent the will of the people? It's obviously worked for quite a long time now, and things that, in general for the UK have been very good. So, yeah, this just made me think of that.
At least temporarily, that Starmer might end up being far more popular in office than he was in opposition. Unfortunately for Starmer, though, that's not how things panned out. And in the past few months or so, his approval ratings have reliably declined, plummeting to new lows in recent weeks.
Oh, wow.
More In Common polling from the last couple of days found that Starmer's approval rating had fallen to minus 16.
Wow.
A drop of 27 points from his post-election high of plus 11.
Wow. This is lower than it was before he was elected, even? This is just all-time low. Starmer approval. All-time low. Wow.
Similarly, while YouGov haven't done a new poll on Starmer personally, polling on the Labour government done over the last week found that their net approval rating has fallen from about 0 when it first came into office to an astonishing negative 28, with 51% of Brits saying that they disapproved and just 23% saying they approved.
Wow. These polls are pretty shocking. Again, as Americans, we got our own problems. We got stuff going on here. So we really don't hear about or focus on UK politics or news. So this is all, pretty shocking new information for me.
For comparison, this is lower than any other new government in recent history, apart from Theresa May in 2017, and way lower than the last Labour government to win an election, 2 months after the 1997 election, when Tony Blair's government had an approval rating of plus 46.
Wow. So what's behind this? I assume they're going to explain why the approval rating exactly is so bad.
This disappointment has also been relatively widespread across policy areas, with an increasing number of voters expressing dissatisfaction over the government's handling of crime, the economy, health, housing, welfare, and immigration.
Man, this is quite depressing, I would imagine, for the people of the UK. At least the ones who in this polls are expressing dissatisfaction. And what I mean by that is this new UK government was just voted on, right? It just happened. The election. This all, like, the new government leadership just came into power. And already, like, polls are sinking, approval is sinking this low so soon. That's really, I imagine that's very disappointing, because it's like, it's the beginning period, you know?
So, what's wrong with the UK's new government? Well, the
Yeah.
TLDR is basically everything. Public services are crumbling. Starmer has had to release certain prisoners in order to free up space for rioters arrested during the first couple of weeks. There are signs that Thames Water could be about to collapse, and a shortfall in NHS funding has recently been identified.
What? What is all? What? I've heard about the riots. I did a video learning about the civil unrest in the UK. Some of this other stuff, though, like the Thames Water, healthcare funding, like what's all this?
The media has clearly picked up on this too, and are basically constantly speculating about which taxes Reeves is going to increase in the October budget in order to pay for these public services. And this does make sense. Labour have already tried to rein in public spending through means testing for winter fuel allowance and through committing to the previous two-child benefit cap. To add to this, Labour has also been hit by something of a cronyism scandal. This started when questions were raised about a Downing Street pass being handed to a Labour peer. And this specific peer is also one of Starmer's largest personal donors. Swiftly following this...
Wait. What is this? There's, like, definitely some controversies happening in the UK that I've not heard about. Because here in America we don't hear about it, but we really should. Like, I'm glad that I can at least take some time and go out of my way to learn about some of this, because I would never hear about this any other way in America. Cronyism, as in, like, doing favors for people. This is like Starmer's a donor, did they say, to the party, and given a Downing Street pass. Like, that's like a famous street where like the Prime Minister lives, right? Or what's this mean? You get like a free apartment there or something, or what?
Yes, it was also revealed that other Labour allies, such as Ian Cornfield, who had donated around £20,000 to prominent Labour figures in the lead up to the general election, had been appointed to civil service roles. The issue...
Oh, donors are being given roles. Special favors. Oh, this is very controversial. He donated £20,000. £20,000 is a lot of money, but it's like... I mean, in America, it's like... you got, like, CEOs of companies openly donating to different political parties, like, tens of millions of dollars. Like, it's as bad as this sounds, I think it's actually worse in America.
The issue for Labour here is that they've spent a good deal of the time in the lead up to the election trying to claim that there'll be a clean break from the Tories and that they'll restore trust in politicians.
Oh, no.
This scandal, though, obviously undermines that argument. It's also worth mentioning...
Oh, no. So trust has been broken, even though they said they would be like the new leadership of trust. What else is there? My goodness.
Mentioning here that Starmer has created more negative headlines for himself this week after plans for a potential new outdoor smoking ban was revealed. Now, there will obviously be people that agree with the government that this is necessary, but for those who remain unconvinced, the government really didn't put any work in prior to the announcement to convince them this was necessary.
Right. That's a good point to make. Like, This is all about your own point of view. For some, I don't know, portion, for some part of the UK population, I guess they're happy with these policies, and for some other proportion of the population in the UK, they're unhappy with these policies. But it seems like the majority of people, according to the polls, are not happy.
And this is sort of the whole problem with the Labour government at the moment. It's entirely plausible that many of the actions they're taking are necessary. After all, they've been dealt a difficult hand as the incoming government, and balancing the books and getting the finances under control will require difficult political decisions.
They were dealt a difficult hand. So, going into this, the Starmer leadership was kind of given a bad hand here, like with budget problems and stuff like that. So they went into this facing challenges. I don't understand all those challenges, but is that explain some of this? Like they're trying to deal with some of these things and just unfortunately it's not really working.
But to expect the public to embrace them without the legwork being put in first to explain why they are necessary is just wishful thinking. This is likely a big reason behind Starmer's worsening polling right now.
Wow.
But it's also worth asking whether this actually matters. Does the fact that the Labour government is struggling to win over the public actually materially change anything? That's because Labour was only elected a few weeks ago in a landslide victory, and the UK's political system is often described as an elective dictatorship. In that, once elected, there's very little anyone can do to stop the government.
Oh my god. I have never heard it described that way. I was getting a little bit at earlier, I was kind of thinking like, I wonder what people in the UK think about how you vote for your prime minister, because it's a little bit of a roundabout way, I think. Again, believe me, I don't understand all of this, but elective dictatorship, I've never heard it described that way. I don't think that's how Americans think of it, but then again, Americans really don't think about no offense, Americans really don't think about this all that much.
This only becomes more true if the government in question has a large majority, like Starmer does. So the only real time that bad polling numbers matter is in the run-up to an election, which isn't set to happen for another 5 years.
Wow.
However, this bad polling could certainly suggest that Starmer just isn't all that great at politics, and that he could struggle to win the political argument over the next 5 years. Alternatively, it could simply be that Starmer is making the difficult decisions early, so that in 5 years' time, he can make easier ones that win voters back. But ultimately, only time.
Interesting. So they're arguing here that he has difficult decisions to make because he was dealt a bad hand going into this, and he hasn't done a good job explaining why he's doing some of these policy changes, and he has a bit of an image problem. That's another view you could take on this.
Time will tell. Understanding these sorts of issues is really important, but also difficult. And that's why TLDR is...
Okay, I think that's the end right there. Well, this was very interesting. This was very, very eye-opening for me as an American. This video was by TLDR News. I gotta give it a like, because that's great. Like, especially for me as an American, I really benefit from little synopsises and summaries like this about what the heck is going on in the UK, because we really don't get good information here in the United States. I'm sure, with that, I am only seeing a small little glimpse into the whole UK news and politics, so I certainly don't understand everything, but this was quite interesting, and I didn't know that people were seemingly so upset with Starmer and the new government, and I don't know, it's not good news, but I'm glad to be more informed about this, though, so I enjoyed it for that reason. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment, especially if you live in the UK, with your thoughts on the Starmer government, his tanking approval ratings, problems in the UK. Feel free to just rant about it and give your more informed opinion on all these matters. That'd be great to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to the UK and learning about UK culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.